Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rule well. Peace and salutation to the elect. My name is Ainal. The title of this video is The Wicked Are Running Scared. And basically, the scriptures, they are faithful and they are true, and we're watching prophecy happen, right before our eyes. And the prophets of the Lord have been warning, about these days that we're living in now, right, for many years. And in this here, this is Habakkuk 2 and 3. It says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry." Right. And, we're living in those times. We're living in the time of the end. And the end speaks towards lamentations, mournings, and woe, right? Complete destruction, right, of the current rulership of the Edomite Empire. And that brings in what? Jacob's trouble. It brings in World War III and the implementation of the MOT, because these devils are trying to save themselves from what's to come. And their last trump will be that MOTB, right? To try to capture the souls of the elect and basically have everyone under their subjection. But we know it won't work. But anyway, I titled the video, "The Wicked Are Running Scared," right? Because they are now leaving the streets or their homes and moving into basically military housing, protection. And why is that? Because what does Job 20 say? Job 20 says what? It says, Job 20 and 22. It says, "In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be disgraced," the wicked. So that goes into everyone that you see now, Marco Rubio, right? Christian Nome, right? All of them. It says, and they're the ones over this, ICE operation and all of that. It says, "In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be disgraced. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. When he is about to fill his belly, Yahweh shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him and shall rain upon him while he is eating." And ultimately, they're bringing forth the new world order, right? And wait for them to bring that new world order in is to bring in some type of chaos so they can bring in a solution that's already prepared for you, which is total control. So the cities are troubled, the streets are troubled, the grinding is ceasing, meaning there's no more work, right? And famine, right? Food is not easily accessible now, and they're gonna make it even harder, right? We pestilence, they might come up with a pestilence too to make you more, confused, because we had that situation with the monkeys crashing, right? That was carrying different diseases. And we grab this because this is what's happening. That's why they're moving to these military facilities. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power." So basically, they don't care who you are, right? They're hurting and they want something done about it, and they are approaching these different officials. And, so once again, the scriptures are faithful and they are true. 2nd Ezra 15 and 1, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true." So check this video out right here.
This is big breaking news. Top White House officials are now moving into military-style housing on U.S. military bases. This is concerning. They're worried about threats to their life and potential threats to the United States as well too. So let's get into all the details here. You guys can see it says top Trump officials, Miller, Nome, Rubio, adopt bunker mentality with housing reserved for military officers. And this has only happened one other time in history before. A previous Obama official did this, but now we're having multiple officials, and these are top Trump officials, Stephen Miller, Christino, Marco Rubio, are all moving into these military-style housing units, Pete Hegseth. And it's concerning, right? Because these people are wealthy. They have money. They have nice homes. And they are moving into these places because they believe they need that much security, right? They need to be living on a military base to be safe for either due to the public or maybe something else. Maybe they're worried about a war breaking out or something else, right? And the timing of this is not great with the shutting off of the benefits happening on November 1st as well too, and people warning that, it could cause chaos potentially. Hopefully not. Hopefully, it's isolated to certain areas mostly, but this is concerning, right? It says top members of Trump's White House are reportedly living in homes typically reserved for top military brass in Washington, D.C., as they pull back from neighborhoods where their presences were often targeted for protests by the many Democrats who make the capital region their home. It says here Stephen Miller and Secretary of State Marco Rubio recently joined a growing list of Trump cabinet secretaries and advisors who've chosen to live in reserved military housing, with Rubio moving on to, quote, General Row in Fort McNair, and Miller also living in the area after abandoning his digs in Arlington, The Atlantic reported. They joined Department of
Right. So you have basically top members of Trump cabinet, basically all of them moving to these military bases. And when I first was listening to the videos, I thought they were actually going to the bunkers. I was like, oh shit, because the scriptures talk about us pulling them out of the bunkers. So that'd be the next step for them. Right now, they're worried about the population, right? Not really direct war regarding nuclear missiles with Russia yet, right? But that's soon to come. And we already know the top elites have been buying bunkers and things like that. You even had Rick Ross, uh, you know, basically seeing that other people were buying bunkers, so he decided to buy a bunker too. You know. So anyway, General Row refers to a specific set of historic residences, right, on military bases. Most famously, the row of 6 large houses on Grant Avenue at Fort Myer, Virginia, which have housed the top military leaders since the 1990s. So they're using these things right now, Trump officials, because they're hiding from the public, because they're destroying the world, basically, right? Because America is the head of it all, right? And everything they're doing is affecting the countries around them. And this is why everyone is angry, right? And they don't want to speak to Donald Trump. They don't want the meetings. And they don't want peace, because America is bullying them.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who moved into military housing earlier this year, and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who is alone among his compatriots in finding some precedent for his decision to move onto General Row alongside Rubio, right? So, and it says here the White House and administration officials gave security concerns as a reason for the arrangements. One other senior White House official, whose identity was not named by The Atlantic, is also in a similar arrangement due to, quote, security concerns related to a specific foreign threat, said officials, okay? So, not even domestic here. I'm sure some of it is domestic, okay? They're mentioning these, like, protests. There's been multiple people showing up at Stephen Miller's home and harassing him and his wife and his children. But this other one is saying who didn't want to be named. And this is all out in the open, that they are moving here. Rubio, Kristi Noem, Miller, Pete Hegseth. That's all known, right? But this person that's giving them some more, background information, they're saying that they're worried about a specific foreign threat. So kind of crazy that they're worried about that inside the United States domestically. They're so worried about a foreign threat in the United States targeting them that they want to live on a U.S. military base. All right, so I don't know what that means exactly. And this comes in coordination with these warnings that we're getting as well too from Russia. And it says here, Russia warns U.S. over nuclear testing. It goes on to say that President Trump's call to resume nuclear weapons tests sparked concerns of a new global arms race, and Russia on Thursday warned, quote, it would act accordingly if Washington broke a more than 30-year moratorium on testings. Such a move would also fuel distrust between the U.S. and China and heighten their nuclear arms rivalry. It says, but there's also no scientific need to resume tests, which could take years to plan, experts told New Scientist. Some scholars suggest Trump may be referring to testing weapons delivery systems, not the warheads themselves. All right, so yeah, we're not sure exactly what Trump was saying, but he was saying the U.S. needs to update its nuclear arsenal. We need to potentially increase the arsenal, and we need to increase testing. Right? He was saying other countries like Russia and China are, or specifically Russia mostly, is doing nuclear weapons tests down. There could be cyber events.
Right. So they're one step away now from basically going to these bunkers because ultimately that's where they will end up at. So they're already on military housing, right? Hiding from the people pursuant to Second Edges chapter 15, right? Them, not sparing the princes and whatnot. It says, Second Edge 15 and 16, for there shall be sedition. This is overthrowing the government. That's Christy Noem, Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, all of them. For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So that's why they're able to reach these different individuals and these ranking officials have to move to military bases. And this is one step away from them moving to the bunkers to, hide themselves basically from World War III and also the wrath of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, because Yahushua is on the way. They're gonna want to hide themselves. So the sixth seal, terror. Revelation 6 and 12, it says, I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. The earthquake is going to happen because of nuclear missiles. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Yeah, signs in the moon, the moon turning red, and also, just the smoke in the air blocking the sun. These are all signs of the return of our Lord Yahushua, of course, but this is going to happen with nuclear missiles. It says, and the stars of heaven, which go into nuclear missiles, fell onto the earth, even as a fig tree casts her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. So you got some fruits on a tree, and a hurricane come through or whatnot, it blow the things off of the tree. That's how the nuclear missiles will hit. It says, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it's rolled together. That only happens during what? A nuclear missile. Maybe you might get to see it if Trump go ahead and test these nuclear missiles and they publicize it, which they probably might, on the part of these devils and everything that's going on. It says, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it's rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Because the whole of America will be destroyed. It says, and the kings of the earth and the great men, so this goes into with Christy Noem and all of that. It says, and the rich men and the chief captains, and the mighty men and every bondman and every free man hid themselves. Why? Because they're gonna bring some people in those bunkers to tend to their needs, of course. It says hid themselves and even like I said, Rick Ross got a bunker. I wouldn't say he's rich, like a super elite, but he got money, It says, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. These are the bunkers. And said to the mountains and to the rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. Right? So they don't want any smoke with Yahweh Bashim Yahushua when he comes. It says, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? So ultimately, these devils are one step away from the bunkers. They're already getting military housing because of the people, right? So pretty much, I just want to blow the trumpet on that. He said it begins breaking news here with them hiding, right, from the things to come. So, shalom to those elect, which consist of men, women, and children. Shalom.